start chapter number 6, that is the poem. The name of the poem is The Shed, which is written by Frank Flynn. First of all, I would like to tell you the meaning of the shed. The shed means it is a roofed structure which is used for keeping animals or storing the things. Let's start the summary of the poem. The poem is about the shed, which is a small room away from the main house. It is located at the bottom of the poet's garden. It is the worst condition. Whenever poet passes through it, he feels somebody is staring at him. His brother threatens him by saying that a ghost stays in the shed who hides himself under the rotten floorboards, who may jump and attack on the poet. In fact, there is no ghost inside the shed. His brother tells him lie to keep the shed for his den. At last, the poet overcomes his fear by saying that he will enter the shed one day very soon. This is all about the summary of the poem. Now let me read first stanza, then I will explain you the meaning of this stanza. There's a shed at the bottom of our garden with a spider's web hanging across the door. The hinges are rusty and creak in the wind. When I am in bed, I lie and I listen. I'll open that door one day. The poet in these lines is describing a shed that is at the bottom of his garden. At the bottom of the garden, there is a shed. Hardly anybody goes inside the shed. Therefore, the hinges of the door joints. What they mean by hinges here? Hinges means a joint which helps in swings the door. Therefore, the hinges of the door joints have become rusty. It becomes very rusty, very old, and make a lot of noise. It creates lot of noise whenever the wind makes them move. When the poet is peacefully lying in the bed, he sometimes hears noises from the shed. The poet wishes to be able to open the door of the shed someday. He wanted to go into that shed one day. Now, let me read out second stanza. There's a dusty old window around at the side with 3 cracked panes of glass. I often think there's someone staring at me each time that I pass. I'll peep through that window one day. Second stanza, the poet is to explain that the shed has a dusty old window. The shed, because it's an old shed, it has a dusty old window. All around the dust is settled over there. 3 glass panes of the window are broken. Whenever the poet used to passes through the shed, he gets the feeling as if someone was continuously staring at him. Someone looks at him. To find out, the poet wishes to peep inside the shed. He also wants to peep inside the shed one day. This is the explanation of the second stanza. Moving towards third stanza. My brother says there's a ghost in the shed who hides under rotten floorboards, and if I ever dare to set foot inside, he will jump out and chop off my head, but I will take a peek one day. So, here in this stanza, the poet explains his brother warns him about the ghost inside the shed. The poet's brother talks about the presence of the ghost inside the shed and warns the poet that if he went inside the shed, if he just put the foot inside the shed, the ghost would chop off his head. However, this does not much frighten the poet. He still wished to one day step inside the shed and see for himself. This is the explanation of third stanza. Now moving towards fourth stanza. I know that there isn't really a ghost. My brother tells lies to keep the shed for his den. There isn't anyone starting or making strange noises. The spider has been gone from his web since I don't know when. I will go into that shed one day soon, but not just yet. Here, in the last stanza, the poet in these lines seems to have grown enough to understand the truth. The poet is able to overcome his fears. He is able to understand that there is no ghost inside the shed. He understands that there is actually nobody inside the shed who stares at him or makes those strange noises. The spider too is no longer there. His brother had been telling him lies because he wanted to retain the shed for his own self. He wanted to make the shed as a den. Therefore, very soon the poet would be able to set foot inside the shed. However, he says that this can't happen immediately. This is all about the poem. I hope you understood the poem. Thank you. Have a wonderful day.